Imagine this from the moment you were born, someone's been programming your mind, what to believe, what to fear, what to chase. And the craziest part, you didn't even notice it happening. But here's the truth. If you don't take control of your thoughts, society will. And this isn't about motivation. This is about mental freedom. So if you're ready to break the brainwashing and rewire your mind for real success, don't scroll. This 20 seconds could wake you up forever. We'll explain everything in this video step by step. Don't skip it. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you stopped to question the thoughts running through your mind? Not just hear them, not just believe them, but question them. Because here's the truth, most people don't think their own thoughts. They borrow them. They absorb them from the noise of society, from the media, from family expectations, from social media filters telling you what's normal, what's success, what's good enough. And the tragic part, most people never even realize it. From the moment you're born, you're programmed. You're told what's acceptable, what's realistic, what's possible. You're told, get good grades, get a safe job, buy a house, play it safe. And if you dare to dream differently, you're called crazy. But I want you to understand something right now. Every extraordinary life begins the moment you realize you've been conditioned. The moment you look at the programming and say, no more, I'm taking control of my own mind. Because your mind is a battlefield. And every day, society is fighting to occupy it. The commercials that tell you you're not beautiful enough unless you buy this. The influencers who make you feel like you're behind because you don't have what they have. The culture that glorifies comfort and punishes risk. That's brainwashing. And if you don't consciously program your own mind, someone else will. Success, real success, isn't just about working harder. It's about thinking differently. It's about rewiring your brain to see opportunity where others see fear, to see abundance where others see lack, to believe you're worthy even when the world tells you you're not. Here's what they don't tell you. You can reprogram your mind. You can literally change the way you think, the way you feel, the way you act by changing what you feed your brain. See, your mind is like a computer. Whatever you feed it, it processes garbage in, garbage out, power in, power out. If you keep consuming negativity, limitation, comparison, you'll live in that vibration. But if you start feeding your mind with possibility, with gratitude, with courage, you begin to create a new pattern. That's how you rewire yourself for success. Every belief you hold right now was installed. And if it was installed, it can be replaced. So when your mind says, I can't do this, you stop it and you ask, whose voice is that? Is that you, or is that your parents' fear? Is that society's conditioning? Because if it's not yours, you don't have to keep it. You can uninstall that belief and install a new one. I can. I will. I must. That's the moment transformation begins. Not when you read another book, not when you attend another seminar, not when you wait for permission, but when you finally take control of the dialogue in your own head. Understand this, your brain is designed to keep you safe, not successful. It's wired for survival, not greatness. That means if you want to grow, you have to go against your default settings. When fear shows up, move anyway. When doubt whispers, act anyway. When society says, be realistic, double down on your dreams. You are not here to fit in. You are here to stand out. You are not here to live by someone else's script. You are here to write your own story. And the moment you take back control of your thoughts, your identity begins to shift. You stop being the victim of your environment and start becoming the architect of your destiny. You stop waiting for motivation and start creating momentum. This isn't about fake positivity. It's about rewiring your entire nervous system to respond differently to life. Because when you change the meaning, you change the emotion. When you change the emotion, you change the action. And when you change the action, you change everything. The people who succeed in life aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who no longer interpret failure as final. They've rewired their brains to see failure as feedback, to see rejection as redirection, to see pain as power. That's how you escape the brainwashing. You stop letting society tell you what success looks like, and you define it for yourself. You stop chasing validation, and you start chasing growth. You stop surviving, and you start creating. So from this moment on, start watching your thoughts. Every belief that limits you, challenge it. Every label that defines you, question it. Every excuse that comforts you, destroy it. You don't need to be more talented, more educated, or more connected. You just need to become more aware, because awareness is the beginning of freedom. And once you reclaim your mind, there's nothing, absolutely nothing, you can't achieve. From the moment you open your eyes as a child, the world starts whispering in your ear who you're supposed to be. It starts molding you, shaping your beliefs, and creating invisible boundaries around what you believe is possible. Society tells you what's acceptable, what's realistic, what's normal. You're rewarded for compliance and punished for questioning. Slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to fit into a mold that was never made for you. You learn to chase approval, to play it safe, to stay inside the lines, to follow the script. And every time you ignore that voice inside that tells you you're meant for more, that you could go further, that you could do something extraordinary, that voice gets quieter until one day it's almost gone. That's the power of conditioning. It doesn't need to imprison your body. It only needs to capture your mind. Most people don't even realize they're being programmed, and they grow up following rules that were written generations before them by people who didn't even know their names. They inherit fears from parents, limitations from teachers, and opinions from strangers online. They wake up, go to work, come home, and repeat, thinking this is what life is supposed to be. They believe what they've been told, that success is a title, a car, a house, a degree. That happiness is found somewhere in the future once you've earned enough or proven enough. They don't stop to ask, who told me this? Who decided that this is the way I should live? But the moment you stop and question it, the moment you become aware of the programming, something incredible happens. You begin to wake up. Awareness is the first crack in the illusion. When you start seeing how much of what you believe about yourself was handed to you, you realize you have the power to change it. The truth is, society doesn't want you to think too deeply, because if you did, you'd stop being controllable. You'd stop buying things you don't need. You'd stop living for validation. You'd stop settling for the small life you were told was all you could have. You've been told to play safe because risk is dangerous. But what's more dangerous? Risking failure or living your whole life never knowing who you could have been. You've been told to stay humble, not to stand out, not to draw too much attention. But why? Because the moment you step out of the box, you threaten the system built on sameness. You've been told to trust authority, to follow the rules, to do things the right way. But most of the rules were designed to protect comfort, not growth. And comfort is the cage that kills potential. You've got to understand something deep. You were not born average. You were born with infinite potential, raw energy, creative power. But from childhood, that power gets filtered through systems that teach you what to think, not how to think. Schools teach conformity, not courage. Society teaches obedience, not originality. And by the time you're grown, you've learned to silence your instincts and ignore your intuition because they don't fit into the plan. That's not education. That's conditioning. And conditioning keeps people asleep. When you start to see this, you start to feel it everywhere. The commercials that tell you you're not enough. The news that keeps you in fear. The culture that glorifies instant gratification while avoiding deep fulfillment. It's all designed to keep you reactive, not reflective, to keep you buying, scrolling, comparing, and doubting. Because a person who doubts themselves is easy to control. A person who knows themselves is unstoppable. The moment you begin to reclaim your mind, you begin to reclaim your life. You start to notice how many of your decisions weren't made consciously. The job you took because it was safe. The dreams you buried because they seemed unrealistic. The relationships you stayed in because you feared judgment. You start to realize that most of your choices were never truly yours. They were inherited. And that realization is not weakness, it's power. Because once you can see the pattern, you can break it. Breaking free from society's programming isn't about rebellion for the sake of it. It's about awareness. It's about looking at the stories you've been told and asking, does this serve me? It's about replacing fear with truth. When you start doing that, you begin to understand that you're not a victim of the world. You're a creator of it. The same energy that's been used to keep you small can be used to build something extraordinary. The same mind that's been trained to conform can be retrained to innovate, to lead, to inspire. You start to realize that success doesn't look like what you were told. It's not just status or money. It's alignment. It's waking up every day knowing you're living by your own rules, guided by your own values, not someone else's script. Society's definition of success is based on appearance, on how it looks. But your definition should be based on how it feels. It should feel like freedom. It should feel like truth. When you recognize the programming, you start seeing how deeply it runs. You notice how people seek comfort over purpose, how they'd rather be accepted than authentic. You notice how fear has become a language everyone speaks fluently, and then you begin to choose differently. You begin to design your life consciously. You begin to feed your mind differently. Books that empower, people who challenge you, environments that elevate you. You stop letting the noise of the world drown out the voice within you. Reclaiming your mind is not easy. It's not comfortable. You'll be misunderstood. You'll be called arrogant, unrealistic, delusional even. But remember, the people who changed the world were once called crazy by those still trapped inside it. Every time you break a rule of limitation, every time you trust yourself over the crowd, every time you follow your vision instead of validation, you weaken a hold of the system. There's a moment in every person's life when they have to decide, stay asleep or wake up. Keep following or start leading. Keep being programmed or start programming yourself. And that choice begins in your thoughts, because the mind that once accepted the world's lies can also rewrite them with truth. You are not your conditioning. You are not your past. You are the awareness beneath it all, the consciousness capable of rewriting the script. And when you step into that awareness, the world no longer tells you who you are. You do. Your mind is the most powerful instrument you will ever possess, yet most people treat it like a garbage bin, filling it daily with noise, negativity, and fear. They wake up and the first thing they do is scroll through social media, comparing their behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. They turn on the news and absorb every message of chaos and despair. They go through the day surrounded by people who talk about limitations, not possibilities. Then they wonder why they feel stuck, why they feel unmotivated, why they can't seem to move forward. What you feed your mind becomes your reality. Your thoughts are the seeds, your emotions are the water, and your actions are the fruit. Whatever you plant grows. You can't feed your brain with doubt and expect to live with confidence. You can't consume fear all day and expect to act with courage. You can't constantly compare and expect to feel peace. Your mind learns by repetition. Every word, every image, every idea you allow and gets stored somewhere in the subconscious, shaping the way you see yourself in the world. And most people have been feeding their subconscious with poison for years without realizing it. They listen to people who have given up on their dreams and call it being realistic. They entertain conversations about failure more than success. They rehearse their fears more than their goals. Slowly, the brain begins to believe that mediocrity is safety, that risk is danger, that greatness is for others. This is how mental patterns are built, through repetition and emotional intensity. Whatever you focus on most becomes your default state of being. If you want to rewire your mind for success, you have to become ruthless about what you allow to enter it. You have to guard it like your life depends on it, because it does. Your future depends on the quality of your thoughts. Think about every breakthrough, every invention, every business, every movement in history started with a thought. One idea planted in a disciplined mind can transform the world. The question is, what kind of thoughts are you nurturing? Are they empowering or destructive? Are they building your vision or feeding your fear? When you start feeding your mind with courage, gratitude, and belief, everything changes. Gratitude trains your brain to focus on abundance instead of lack. Courage pushes you to act even when fear shows up. Belief fuels momentum. It's the energy that keeps you moving when no one else understands your vision. These are not just emotions, they are states of consciousness that attract opportunities and people aligned with your purpose. When you think strong, you act strong. When you act strong, you create strong results. That's how transformation works, from the inside out, never the other way around. But most people live in reverse, and they wait for success to believe in themselves. They wait for results to feel grateful. They wait for confidence to take action. They don't realize that belief precedes evidence. The mind has to see it internally before it can manifest it externally. That's why rewiring your brain starts with what you feed it daily. Read books that stretch your thinking. Listen to voices that elevate your energy. Speak words that build you, not break you. Create an environment that nourishes your potential instead of draining it. Your surroundings are like software updates for your subconscious mind. Whatever you expose yourself to, you eventually download. Your mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's vividly imagined. That's the beauty and the danger of it. If you constantly imagine failure, your body and emotions respond as if it's already happening. If you visualize success with emotion, clarity, and repetition, your mind starts building neurological pathways toward making it real. You literally become what you mentally rehearse. The mind follows the patterns you feed it most often. So if you want success, start practicing success in your imagination. See it, feel it. Live it before it arrives. Everything you see in your outer world is a reflection of your inner conditioning. Your relationships, your finances, your confidence, your decisions, they all mirror the thoughts you've been feeding yourself. If you want to change your life, you can't start with the external. You have to go inward. You have to change the diet of your mind. Replace gossip with growth. Replace fear with faith. Replace distraction with discipline. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing which thoughts deserve your attention. Every time you choose a thought, you're programming your future. The people who achieve extraordinary success aren't always the smartest or the most talented. They're the most intentional about their mental diet. They wake up with purpose, they fill their minds with power, and they filter out anything that doesn't serve their mission. They understand that energy is contagious. If you spend enough time around negative people, you'll start speaking their language. But if you surround yourself with dreamers, doers, and believers, you'll start expanding your sense of what's possible. You are the average of what you listen to, watch, read, and repeat. That's the equation of mental success. You have to become the gatekeeper of your own consciousness. Every thought is either an investment or a withdrawal, and every piece of information either empowers you or enslaves you. So ask yourself, does this thought strengthen me or weaken me? Does this conversation move me closer to my vision or keep me stuck where I am? When you start filtering your mind through that question, you'll begin to see how much unnecessary noise you've been carrying. You'll start releasing it, and space will open up for clarity, focus, and creativity. Feeding your mind with power doesn't mean ignoring challenges. It means giving your mind tools to handle them. Life will throw resistance your way, but a well-fed mind doesn't collapse under pressure, it expands. It finds lessons where others find loss. It finds opportunities where others see obstacles. When your mental diet is rooted in growth, you stop reacting and start creating. You stop living on autopilot and start living on purpose. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't luck. It's conditioning. The successful have trained their minds to interpret everything through the lens of growth, a failed deal, feedback, a rejection, redirection, a setback, preparation. This kind of thinking doesn't come naturally, it's practiced. It's rehearsed daily through the thoughts you choose, the people you listen to, and the energy you cultivate. When you start feeding your mind with gratitude, courage, and belief, your energy begins to shift. You walk differently. You talk differently. People can feel it. Opportunities seem to appear, not because they weren't there before, but because your mind is finally tuned to see them. You begin to attract what you've prepared yourself to handle. You become magnetic, not by force, but by alignment. The truth is, your mind is either your prison or your passport. It will trap you in patterns of fear and mediocrity if you feed it the wrong information. But if you choose to fill it with strength, wisdom, and vision, it will take you further than you ever imagined. Every thought you think is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every idea you nurture becomes part of your identity. The question is, what are you feeding your mind today? Every limiting belief you hold right now was installed. You weren't born doubting yourself. You weren't born afraid to fail. You weren't born thinking you weren't enough. Those thoughts were programmed into you by repetition, by experience, by the words and behaviors of the people around you. As a child, you absorbed everything without question. If someone told you that you weren't smart, that became truth in your mind. If someone told you money was hard to earn, that became your financial blueprint. If someone told you that life is struggle, that success is for the lucky, that happiness is temporary, you accepted it without realizing it. Over time, those words became walls inside your mind. They shaped how far you believed you could go, what you thought you deserved, and what you thought was possible for your life. But just because those beliefs were installed doesn't mean they're permanent. Anything that was programmed into your mind can be reprogrammed. The first step is to recognize that beliefs are not facts. They are simply conclusions you've drawn from past experiences, and most of which were formed when you didn't have the awareness or maturity to question them. If as a child you saw your parents fight about money, your brain linked money with pain. If you tried something new and failed, your brain linked risk with humiliation. The brain's job is to protect you from pain, so it builds beliefs to keep you safe. But what kept you safe then may be keeping you stuck now. That's why transformation requires you to examine your beliefs, to look at them one by one and ask, is this helping me or holding me back? Limiting beliefs operate like invisible scripts running in the background of your mind. They determine what opportunities you notice and which ones you dismiss. They dictate how you react to challenges, how you handle relationships, how you approach growth. If deep down you believe you're not good enough, you'll sabotage success the moment it gets close. If you believe life is unfair, you'll subconsciously resist abundance. If you believe you're destined to struggle, you'll find ways to make that belief true. The mind is always searching for evidence to confirm what it already believes. That's why rewiring your mind starts with interrupting those old patterns. You must stop treating beliefs as truth and start treating them as habits of thought. The most powerful question you can ask yourself is, where did this belief come from? Because when you trace it back, you often realize it's not even yours. Maybe it came from a teacher who projected their own limitations onto you. Maybe it came from a parent who lived in fear and passed that fear down unconsciously. And maybe it came from society's definition of success, convincing you that your dreams are unrealistic. When you see the source, you reclaim power over the story. You realize that just because someone else believed, it doesn't mean you have to live it. You are the author now. Rewiring your beliefs is not about forcing positivity. It's about replacing outdated programming with new, empowering truth. Every time you challenge a belief, you weaken its grip. Every time you take action in spite of it, you create new evidence that supports a different reality. That's how the brain learns. It needs proof. So when the voice in your head says, I can't do this, you act anyway. When it says, I'm not ready, you step forward anyway. Each time you do, your brain begins to build a new neural pathway that says, I am capable, I am strong, I can learn, I can adapt. The old pathway starts to fade from disuse. That's the science of change. It's not instant, but it's inevitable when you stay consistent. You can't remove a limiting belief by simply trying to ignore it. Suppression gives it power. The way to dismantle it is through awareness and replacement. Write them down. Speak them out loud. See them for what they are, protective mechanisms that no longer serve you. Then deliberately install new beliefs through repetition, visualization, and emotional intensity. When you affirm a new truth with feeling, your brain begins to accept it as real. Over time, your identity shifts to match it. You stop acting like someone who's trying to change and start being someone who already has. Belief is the foundation of identity. You'll never outperform the story you tell yourself. If deep down you believe you're average, you'll behave like it. If you believe you're unstoppable, you'll act like it even when you're scared. The external world bends to the strength of your internal certainty. The most successful people are not the ones who never had doubt. They're the ones who refused to let doubt define them. They rewrote the story. They changed, I can't, to I will. They replaced, it's too late with, it's my time. And they did it over and over until the new beliefs became automatic. You have to become the architect of your own mind. That means taking responsibility for the thoughts you allow to live there. Every belief that limits you is costing you energy, confidence, and opportunity. You don't have to fight those beliefs. You just have to stop feeding them. Focus your attention on what empowers you. Create a vision of who you want to be so clear that it becomes more real to you than your past. Every day, remind yourself of that vision. Speak it out loud. See it. The brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. It only knows what you focus on most. When you focus on your potential long enough, it becomes your new baseline. The truth is, transformation is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world taught you to doubt yourself. You already have everything you need within you. It's just buried under layers of conditioning and fear. When you uninstall the lies, what's left is power, clarity, and purpose. That's why personal growth is less about addition and more about subtraction. Removing the false stories so your true self can emerge. Rewiring your beliefs also means being patient with yourself. You're undoing years of programming, and that takes awareness and repetition. There will be moments when the old beliefs whisper again, trying to pull you back into the familiar. That's not failure. That's the brain doing its job. It loves the known, even if the known is painful. So instead of fighting it, observe it. Thank it for trying to protect you, and then choose differently. The more you choose differently, the stronger your new identity becomes. Every time you break through a limiting belief, you don't just change your life, you change your future generations. You stop passing down fear, scarcity, and insecurity. You become the example that proves it's possible to rewrite the story. You become the person who shows others what freedom of the mind truly looks like. You are not the voice in your head telling you what you can't do. You are the awareness that hears that voice and chooses what to believe. The moment you understand that separation, you step into true power, because the voice may speak, but you decide whether to listen. The past may echo, but you decide whether to repeat it. And once you realize you can uninstall what no longer serves you and install what empowers you, your potential becomes limitless. There comes a point in your life when you realize that most of what you've been chasing was never truly yours. The career path you chose, the goals you set, the way you measure your worth, it all came from somewhere. From family expectations, from society's definition of success, from the world telling you what matters and what doesn't, from a system built to reward obedience, not originality. You grow up thinking success means having a big house, a fancy title, and approval from the people around you. You're told to blend in, follow the rules, play it safe, and check every box that the world hands you. And you do it hoping that once you achieve it all, you'll feel fulfilled. But deep inside, something still feels missing. That emptiness is your truth calling you out. It's the reminder that living by society's definition of success will never satisfy the soul that was born to create its own. At some point, you have to stop asking the world who you should be and start asking yourself. You have to look in the mirror and realize that every label you wear was given to you. You were told you're the quiet one, the funny one, the responsible one, the underachiever, the one who should just be content. You were boxed into identities that may have nothing to do with who you really are. And because you believed them for so long, you forgot to question them. You forgot that identity is not fixed, it's a choice. The person you are today is only a reflection of the beliefs and decisions you've accepted up until now. The moment you decide to redefine who you are, everything begins to shift. Society has convinced people that success is a checklist, that fulfillment is external, that happiness is something you achieve when you meet the standards of others. But real success is not about appearance. It's about alignment. It's about living in harmony with who you truly are, not who you've been told to be. It's about waking up every day knowing that your actions reflect your values, that your goals come from your vision, not someone else's expectation. It's about authenticity in a world that rewards imitation. The people who truly thrive are not the ones who followed the blueprint. They're the ones who built their own. When you start designing your own definition of success, you stop chasing validation. You stop living for applause. You stop caring about fitting in because you realize that blending in has been costing you your uniqueness. And you can't live a remarkable life while trying to remain acceptable. The truth is, society celebrates those who once broke its rules. Every innovator, every leader, every visionary was once criticized for thinking differently. They were called dreamers, rebels, even failures until their vision worked. And what separated them wasn't luck. It was the courage to stay true to themselves in a world trying to make them a copy. You have to reclaim that power. The power to define what success looks like for you. Maybe success for you means peace, not possessions. Maybe it means freedom, not fame. Maybe it means impact, not income. There's no right or wrong answer, only your answer. And once you claim it, life starts aligning with you because energy moves where authenticity flows. When you're living someone else's dream, you're out of sync with your own nature. But when you live from your truth, doors open effortlessly, opportunities appear naturally, and you attract people who resonate with who you really are. You can't design your life consciously until you stop living unconsciously. Every decision you make has to come from awareness. Why do I want this goal? Who am I doing this for? What does success feel like to me? And when you start asking these questions, you strip away layers of conditioning and get closer to your core. That's where power lies, not in pretending to be what the world wants, but in fully owning what you are. The world will always try to pull you back into conformity. It will tell you that it's risky to dream big, that it's selfish to prioritize yourself, that it's foolish to walk away from the secure path. But what's truly risky is living a life that never felt like yours. What's selfish is denying your gifts because you're afraid to stand out. What's foolish is surviving when you were born to create. The ones who make the greatest impact are not those who played it safe. They're the ones who dared to live on their own terms. Rewiring your identity means you stop living reactively. You stop making choices based on fear, pressure, or tradition. You start making them based on purpose. You learn to trust your inner voice more than the opinions of others. You begin to act in alignment with your future self, not your past conditioning. And when you do, something powerful happens. You begin to embody confidence instead of chasing it. You begin to attract respect instead of begging for it. You begin to move with clarity instead of confusion. Your destiny begins to change the moment your definition of success does. If you've been chasing someone else's version of happiness, you'll always feel behind. But when you create your own metrics for fulfillment, you'll realize you were never behind. You were just walking the wrong path. Society measures success in numbers, income, followers, achievements. But your soul measures it in freedom, peace, and purpose. When those things align, you win at a level that the world can't understand. You are not here to repeat what others have done. You are here to innovate, to express, to create something that only you can bring into this world. And that begins when you stop asking for permission to be yourself. The world doesn't need another imitation. It needs authenticity. It needs people brave enough to follow their truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Because when you live authentically, you give others permission to do the same. You become a mirror that shows them what's possible. This is how real success is built from the inside out. It starts when you take control of your mind, your story, and your energy. When you wake up and say, I no longer need to meet anyone's expectations but my own. It starts when you realize that happiness isn't at the finish line. It's in the decision to live aligned right now. You don't need to wait for the world to understand you. You just need to understand yourself deeply enough that external noise can't shake your internal peace. You were never meant to live inside someone else's definition. You were meant to create your own. Every time you make a choice that honors your truth, you break another layer of conditioning. Every time you act from authenticity instead of fear, you step into power. Every time you listen to your intuition over the crowd, you strengthen your connection with purpose. This is how you begin to consciously design your identity. Not the identity you inherited, but the one you choose. The process is simple but not easy. You'll have to unlearn. You'll have to release the need to please. You'll have to say no to paths that look good but feel wrong. You'll have to build faith in your own voice when others doubt it. But that's what growth is. Stepping away from imitation and walking toward individuality. And as you do, you'll start to feel lighter, more aligned, more powerful. Because you're no longer living by default, you're living by design. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe.